Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and direction that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. You can watch this program on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Radyo Pilipinas World Service. And this program, Front and Center, can also be heard on the following shortwave frequencies: 12.010 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.820 MHz. Join us for another edition of Front and Center with your host, Jerome Toledo. The Philippines or the State of the Nation address here in the Philippines will start on July 22nd, this coming Monday. And the President Marcos Jr. will deliver another report to the nation on the progress of our country, be it in terms of economic, infrastructure, national security, and also agriculture. How did the president fare last year, and what to expect in his upcoming address to the nation this year? Joining me now is the political analyst and also professor of the University of Santo Tomas, Dr. Froilan Calilong. Dr. Calilong, welcome to the program Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me.
Okay, first things first, President Marcos Jr. has mentioned various agenda in last year's State of the Nation address, particularly the economy, the infrastructure, national security, foreign policy, among others. But first, I would like to focus on economy. As President Marcos Jr. foreign trips, or President Marcos went on a foreign trips to encourage investors and businesses to invest in the Philippines. And also, President Marcos signed various memoranda of understanding to facilitate investment. And also, foreign business delegates visited the country to explore investments opportunities. And in terms of infrastructure, the Marcos administration has supported and approved hundreds of projects under the banner Build Better More program. And the administration streamlined permits to facilitate the construction of major infrastructure projects. So what's your take in his economic and infrastructure agendas, Dr. Calilong?
Well, basically, I think we need to start with your first question regarding the foreign trips. Okay, we need to understand that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s foreign trips, I believe, have been a significant part of his administration strategy to bolster the Philippines' international relations, to attract foreign investment, and to also enhance economic opportunities. So I think this is also very important based on the following context. The first one is on the level of ensuring diplomatic success, because I believe that these foreign trips also strengthen bilateral relations, wherein we're able to reaffirm alliances, particularly with those countries that he actually visited. And then also this created in avenues for expanding partnership, wherein we were able to build and expand relationships with other non-traditional partners, including countries like Europe, Middle East, and even in Southeast Asia. So it diversified the Philippines' diplomatic and economic engagement. Now, as for the regional and global presence, of course, we had active participation in many ASEAN and summits as well as regional forums, and this has strengthened our role in regional diplomacy as well. And the attendance at international events like the United Nations General Assembly has also enhanced our visibility on the global stage. And this allowed the country to advocate for I think its interest on issues such as climate change, maritime security, and sustainable development. So, what I mean is that apart from the economic outcomes that is normally tied with these foreign trips, there are many other aspects that I believe are not very much heightened, and
Mm-hmm.
this I believe is also important. Now, on the issue of the economic outcomes, of course, we have the foreign direct investments as
Mm-hmm.
one of the primary goals of these trips. And of course, we need to attract more of this in order to pump prime the economy. And the administration so far has reported commitments and pledges from various countries and multinational companies to invest in sectors like infrastructure, manufacturing, technology, and agriculture. However, I think what the government needs to do here is a constant and a serious follow through, as well as communicative mechanisms to the public, so that at least we will be properly guided as to which among these engagements and pledges have really materialized into
Mm-hmm.
actual performing business ventures, and
Mm-hmm.
which of them actually still is considered to be a pledge. So,
Mm-hmm.
because there is a difference between what is potential and actual investment. So, we need to be very clear on that. Now, on the trade agreements, I think there are also efforts to negotiate and sign various trade agreements, no? And
Mm-hmm.
this have been aimed at expanding market access for Philippine products and services
Mm-hmm.
and boost export opportunities in order to enhance economic growth. Okay, and then also this foreign trips also netted for us some strategic and security gains, particularly in military aid and training, issues of counterterrorism and cybersecurity,
Mm-hmm.
maritime and environmental issues, climate change. Okay, so I think these are some of the important considerations that
Mm-hmm.
we could get from these foreign trips. But of course, there must be um, that element of transparency that should be associated with it, because the public perception of the success of these trips depends on the transparency of the
Mm-hmm.
agreements and the visible impact on the economy and the
Right.
local communities. We also need to ensure that there is inclusivity, which means that we
Mm-hmm.
are to ensure that the benefits of the foreign investments and economic growth are inclusive enough to
Mm-hmm.
reach
Mm-hmm.
all segments of society, and this is crucial for maintaining public support.
Mhm. And you mentioned that there must be a constant follow through or a follow up regarding with
Yes.
the agreements that we are signing with other nations. Correct.
Yes, that is right. That is right. Because that will create pockets of interest, as
Mm-hmm.
well as mutual trust and confidence on the public
Mm-hmm.
with regards to this foreign trips. Because the preliminary assessment of many is that these are quite costly, and they are quite
Mm-hmm.
expensive to actually maintain. So we need to come up with more or less a cost-benefit analysis of the results of this trip. No, and it's important that the benefit should outweigh the cost for it to be considered as a rational course of actions on the part
Mm-hmm.
of the president.
Okay. And should the government do more in terms of attracting investors, since we need to follow up with these agreements or the memorandum of understanding per se. So should the government do more in terms of uh, uh, creating a conducive environment for investors?
Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. And I think this actually is in line with the other point that you raised a while ago regarding the build more.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because we need to understand that when we try to actually sell the country, especially to foreign investors, it is imperative that we also have the correct mix of available sources, resources, mechanisms that will make it conducive and enticing for them. So the
Mm-hmm.
Build More program, I believe, is a very important component of this. This is an infrastructure initiative wherein, of course, it aims to accelerate infrastructure development across the Philippines in order to promote growth, improve connectivity, and enhance the quality of life for Filipinos in general. So I think this is very, very important if we wish to maintain the momentum of the foreign direct investments that we are actually aiming to have for the country, because these foreign direct investors will always try to look first and foremost with regards the conduciveness of the
Mm-hmm.
country to international trade. And if we do not have this massive networks, this road networks, these railway systems, this airports that are somewhat comparable to some of the world's best airports, I think we may be losing some of these potential investments. So it's imperative that the program of the president, which is of course going to different countries, trying to market the country in order to gain more foreign direct investments, it should go side by side or hand in hand with the expansion of the infrastructure projects.
Yeah.
For example, in the road networks, I believe that there is already a significant progress that has been made,
Right.
and this is, of course, not just in the BBM administration. We need to also give credit to the predecessor of the Build Build More, which is the Build Build program, which was initiated or started by President Duterte in 2016. But nevertheless, there are key projects. Including the Luzon Spine Expressway network and
Right.
various road projects in Mindanao and Visayas, which of course creates connectivity. Another thing is that there are various railway systems, some of which are ongoing, like the North-South Commuter Railway, Metro Manila Subway, extensions of the LRT and MRT lines. These projects aim to, I believe, improve urban mobility and reduce congestion, which is very important because many of the investors would not want to invest in countries where traffic is horrendous, because this means loss
Yeah.
of actual and
Right.
potential revenue, right? So another thing is associated with this is the creation of more airports and seaports,
Right.
primarily the upgrades and expansion of major airports such as the NAIA, Clark International Airport, and uh, we have some other new airports alongside, no,
Yep.
like the one in Bulacan. Seaport modernization is another important consideration here to enhance maritime trade and connectivity. Bridge constructions, okay, like the Panggil Bay Bridge and the Bataan Cavite Interlink Bridge. I think these are important to improve inter-island connectivity and reduce travel time.
Yeah.
Also, flood control projects, among others. So, the Build More actually is important because of its economic impact. Okay, not
Mm-hmm.
just by boosting investment, but it also created jobs.
Yeah.
Remember that construction and completion of infrastructure projects generated significant employment opportunities, and it contributed to economic growth and reducing unemployment rates.
Okay. All right. Well said. And speaking of conduciveness for investors, Dr. Krilung, so I would like to include the national security here, because the Marcos Jr. administration laid the program, or specifically the amnesty program, and also a peace process with rebel groups such as Moro National Liberation Front, and also the shifting of our country's defense from internal to external security, as well as a resumption of peace talks with the communist groups. So, how do you assess Dr. Kalilong, his security plans or agendas?
Well, very, very important. Since we're already talking about economic infusion, since we're talking about economic development, we're talking about how to create opportunities. It cannot exist in an environment where there is a problem concerning peace. Because in order
Mm-hmm.
for economic progress or economic development to thrive, the primordial consideration will have to be the existence of peace and order in the country. Okay, so this is the a necessary precondition, I believe, for economic development, because even if we make the country palatable and conducive to foreign investors, but then again we have an insurgency problem in the country, or we have problems concerning criminality or terrorism. I think this considerations will simply shoo them away. It will
Mm-hmm.
simply negate whatever gain we have. So
Mm-hmm.
the this is very important, and I think the president's amnesty program is a significant initiative which
Mm-hmm.
was aimed at promoting peace, reconciliation, as well as the reintegration of former rebels and insurgents into mainstream society. So this is very important because this, I think, is geared towards number one, of course, ending armed conflict. Okay, the primary objective is to end
Mm-hmm.
long-standing armed conflicts by encouraging rebels and insurgents to lay down their arms and rejoin the society peacefully. And then, of course, national unity in this process is going to be attained also because we are addressing the root cause of insurgency, and we are fostering a culture of peace. And this is important
Mm-hmm.
for the possible social reintegration. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the community integration process and the social and economic support, wherein the former rebels will be given the necessary support mechanisms to be reintegrated into the society, including livelihood assistance, education, and healthcare. So this, I believe, are very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
The peace agreements, particularly with the negotiations with the rebel groups, with the CPP-NPA, as well as the MILF, in securing agreements and promoting disarmaments. I think this is very, very important. Particularly, also, I'd like to mention the several peace accords that have been signed, which
Mm-hmm.
set the framework for the implementation of an amnesty program and the transition to peaceful and democratic process. So I believe all of these things were laid down during the years of President BBM. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, again, this were also started even in the previous administrations. But I think
Mm-hmm.
the fruition and the totality actually came about during the years of Marcos Jr.
Mhm, I see. And well said, Dr. Kalilong. I would like to shift gears here. Let's talk about the foreign policy.
Mhm.
President Marcos Jr. Laid out his centerpiece regarding of his foreign policy. That's
Mhm.
a friend to all and enemy of none. And at the same time, Marcos Jr. administration asserts its rights in the West Philippine Sea while
Mhm.
fostering ties with the like-minded countries while asserting our territorial rights against China. So can we safely say, Dr. Kalilung, that we have achieved the independent foreign policy, or should the government do something better?
Well, I think we could somehow say that right now, but to ultimately lay the claim towards a totally independent foreign policy, I think is a bit of a misnomer. Okay, so why do I say that? Because in order for us to be able to analyze this, we need to look into the key elements of the Marcos Jr.'s foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Jerome, it boils down to the following. The first one, of course, is balancing relations.
Mm-hmm.
How do we see this? We are balancing relations between three important blocks. Okay, the United States, China, and the ASEAN and the regional engagement. So,
Mm-hmm.
with the United States, the Philippines has, I believe, reaffirmed its alliance with the United States. There is no doubt about that
Yeah.
because there is this obvious pivot from our allegiance to China during the Duterte administration to
Mm-hmm.
the 360-degree turn that we did during the BBM administration, wherein we focus more on the United States. So this relations with the U.S. emphasized defense cooperation, economic ties, as well as shared democratic values, and this included bolstering the Mutual Defense Treaty and engaging in joint military exercises anchored on the EDCA and the VFA. Now, with China, we are maintaining a firm stance on territorial disputes on the South China Sea. But this does not mean that we are not engaging with them anymore. Remember that
Mm.
China is still one of our most important economic
And trading partner.
trading partner.
Mm-hmm.
And when you try to look at the considerations right now with relation to China,
Mm-hmm.
we are also looking at some other initiatives like the Belt and Road Project.
Mm-hmm.
And this of course brings us to the understanding that while we are maintaining some leverage politically with China, we are also trying to set forth some very important economic considerations with them,
Mm-hmm.
because we believe that this is necessary for the economy. Now, with the regional engagements that we have, particularly with the ASEAN, I think this is also very important right now, because there are some ASEAN countries that are also claimants in the West Philippine Sea, like Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
of course. What else? There's even Indonesia, some parts of Brunei as well,
Mm-hmm.
and of course the Philippines.
Yeah.
So it's important that we also try to muster enough support from our ASEAN neighbors in order for us to be able to better come up with policies that are aimed at regional engagement. So I think these are the key elements of his foreign policy, and we need to look at it from these angles. But I
Mm-hmm.
think more than the political and security dimensions, we also need to look into his foreign policy also from an economic perspective, like attracting
Mm-hmm.
foreign investments and trade agreements, as well as multilateral and global cooperations,
Mm-hmm.
particularly with the United Nations and global forums, climate change and environmental protection. And of course, what is normally heightened here will be the strategic and security concerns, particularly the maritime security issues anchoring on the West Philippine Sea. And
Mm-hmm.
I think in this manner, we also are able to secure enough support or leverage from international allies,
Yeah.
particularly in joint maritime
Yeah.
patrols.
Mm-hmm. And also, I would like to add an information here, Dr. Kililong, because recently China has or China opened a hotline to in resolving the issues in the West Philippine Sea.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, that's right. And I think this comes side by side with the
Mm-hmm.
ministerial meeting that
Mm-hmm.
was recently conducted between the foreign affairs of both countries. I just do hope that there will be a higher level of sincerity and integrity in this arrangement, because these
Mm-hmm.
programs are actually built. Or rather bent on mutual trust and confidence. And if this will be eroded, then I don't think there will be lasting and meaningful effects of this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and a friend to all and an enemy of none. It's just like we are. This is a way of avoiding tensions or creating tensions with another country.
That is right. That is right. But at the same time, we also need to know which particular country we will be able to benefit the most, because that is essentially what foreign policy is all about. It's an extension of the
Mm-hmm.
domestic policy. So if we wish to actually gain more, especially to deliver
Mm-hmm.
the necessary services and let's say well-being to our countrymen, then I think alliances that will have to be formed or that will have to be delivered alongside this motivations will be with countries that also share the same aspirations. That's the idea of foreign policy.
Okay. My last question of for today, Dr. Kalilong. So we have just covered the economy and infrastructure,
Mm.
national security, and as well as foreign policy of the Marcos Jr. administration in the past year. So, as a political expert, so what policies would you like to hear from President Marcos Jr.'s for this year's State of the Nation address?
Well, definitely for this year's State of the Nation address, I would like to hear about how the president will be able to resolve this lingering problem of inflation. And I think this is the thing that should resonate very well with the people or with the masses, because this is a gut issue. This is a problem that concerns their everyday lives, and I think this is something that the government should also be focused and bent on actually giving some concrete assurances and solutions. And I think they should come in the form of not just monetary policies or fiscal policies that are, I think, already being done by the government, but I believe that there should be more direct and concrete programs that should be given to the people. I think the Kadiwa Rolling Stores is a good initiative that the government has started, but I think we need to increase the numbers of this, and we need to create more programs along this line. I think inflation is something that is, I think, at the center, supposedly, of his sauna, and the people, I think, are waiting with bated breaths as to what particular programs or concrete plan of actions the president will be doing or has actually done in order to mitigate this spiraling prices of basic commodities. Okay, so I think that's the first one, and then of course we would like to know also from the president so far, what are the thematic challenges as well as the thematic progresses that have been made with relation to the provision of basic social services, like housing, of course, food security. There's also the problem of health, education. What are the essential steps that have been already undertaken along this line in order for us to be able to see that yes, we have a government indeed that is functioning, that's totally delivering the much needed governance and administrative work that, of course, everyone is actually demanding from. So I think that's a very, very important consideration. What are the programs already that are in place? And again, it all boils down to the issue of inclusivity, Jerome. We cannot detach the government from the public, because no matter how well-meaning the programs are, and no matter how grand this initiatives could be, if the people will not be able to understand the dynamics, or if they will not be able to readily feel or experience what these programs entail to do for them, I think it will not also create the necessary traction to provide the much needed boost or support from the public. So I think if the president will be able to create programs that has or that will create a direct bearing on the everyday lives of the people, okay, especially those that are living in marginalized conditions, or even those middle income earners, I think it will create a much needed boost for the president's trust and satisfaction for the people to, of course, rally behind his cause. And again, there are also some other issues that are not normally amplified in the SONA, but I think also warrants a great deal of consideration. Okay, for instance, criminality. Is criminality on the rise in the past 3 years? We need to address that. Is peace and order a problem? If it is, then what are we doing so far? There have been many reports of, for example, missing persons. You know, this things, this petty street crimes, which of course impacts the lives of many people, and it creates pockets of distrust on the government if they will not be able to firmly come up with policies and programs to address this. So what I mean is that for this SONA to be meaningful and for this SONA to actually create the much needed attention from the public and for it to create the important traction of support, I think it should resonate well to the everyday living conditions of the people. Because the people actually uh, would not really bother to know much about the
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 entire
highly
speech.
technical and highly should I say highfalutin things that may be relate to them in the sauna. But of course, if they will be able to understand things better and clearer, then they may actually throw in their support to the government, because you cannot appreciate something that you cannot understand. So I think this is important. I think these are some key measures that the president needs to address in his HANA. Because the other things I would not mention anymore, because I believe that they will definitely be given by the president, like the Build More program, the Maharlika Investment Fund, the West Philippine Sea issue. Definitely, this will be included in the SON, I believe. So I'm just trying to point out those things that may be set aside by the president, but is equally important.
Okay. The things that you'd like to hear is what the things that matters the most to the people, which is
Yes,
the
yes.
peace and security, as well as food security. In
Exactly,
short.
exactly. At the end of the day, we may be talking about this, highly technical things, but at the end of the day, do we have enough food to eat? Are we secure in our persons? Are we safe whenever we go out in the streets? I mean, these are the everyday considerations that we have right now, and I think, like I said, this should be the focus of the administration.
Oh, all right. Well said, Dr. Kalilong. And with that, thank you so much for joining us in the program of Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Hello, hello.
Yeah. All right.
Yes, Jerome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us in
Yeah.
the program.
Yeah, I think so much. I got disconnected there for a while. Yes, thank you so much, and take it care and God bless.
All right. And that was Dr. Froilan Kalilong, a political analyst from University of Santo Tomas. And that concludes this edition of Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Together with our producer Erwin Peñano and technical personnel Milo Junella, this is your host Jerome Toledo saying mabuhay and love the Philippines.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.